EPS officer was earning $1,000, analysis of the EPS budget. The EPS budget is spending $6.4 million on salaries. It confuses me. You guys have friends in the EPS. They don't make $1,000. But even if every EPS officer was earning $1,000, it means that if you divide 1,000 by 6.4 million, it means you got 6,400 EPS personnel. It's bigger than the army. It's bigger than the national police. Why do you need 6,400 persons? So how much people in the EPS? That you need to ask. You see, these are the things they do. They will hide extra expenses in certain structures and make it look like the executive mansion is small or the state budget is small, but then they hide it through these things. Why would salaries for the EPS be 6.4 million? Why? I really don't understand. If you took $1,000 salary, it means one EPS officer makes almost 10 times what a police officer makes. These are really critical issues. We urge the public to demand and understand security, police, army, all of them, NSA, all contribute a detachment for these people. So you have all of these structures. Why do you need to be spending all this money on it? There is no justification to be spending $9.1 million when education has no presence in the budget. Interestingly, $552,000 the EPS spends on fuel and lubricants, more than what is allotted for education. God help Liberia. We spent $20,000 on curriculum development. We spent $28,000 for teachers training, but we spent $353,000 for repairs and maintenance EPS vehicle. $552,000 for the fuel and lubricants. $600,000 for intelligence gathering, just for the office of the president. But we spent $100,000 on the Buchanan Hospital in Grand Bassa County that services more than 100,000 people. My intention here is to help you see that this budget is for the people that we put in government. When they collect the money, they sit down, they divide it out. Then they get up and buy 15, 35 buses, and the president now, he thinks he's made more. You know, he drives around and says, oh, the people should celebrate him. And the people say, look, we're not celebrating you.
Why we don't have 1.2 billion budget. I entered the studio, I heard you talking about $200 million from ArcelorMittal. First, if you read, you have the budget before you?
Yes, it is here.
Okay. I want you to go to page X3I, XSI in the budget. We call it the preface.
X3I.
3I.
So that would be 13. X3I.
No. 3I, I.
Yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
It will not be 13, it will be 3. So, the government tells you how they will raise the revenue. So when you pick up the budget, don't look at the number. Look at how the number will be derived. The government says, and let me read that. It said to sustain this and create more resilient fiscal space, the government is rolling out targeted policy reform that are practical, fair, and forward-looking. 1, a 2% presumptive corporate income tax will be introduced for major concessions agreement and ensure that their large operators contribute equitably to the national development. 2, goods and service tax will be increased from 12 to 13%.
It was 10, I think, in 2023.
It was 10.
And then
now
by 2024, it came to 12.
Now they're saying taxation on digital economy. So it's from here I tell you we don't have $1.2 billion budget. The government says the best way.
So let me read it for the sake of the public. Very important. Taxation of the digital economy will be enhanced to reduce leakages and prevent base erosion, ensuring fair contributions from cross-border digital transactions and global platforms operating in Liberia.
So there are 3 ways the government intends to raise the revenue. 1, they will add additional tax on the company corporate income tax by 2%. It's not expanding the revenue bills of the country.
That's additional income coming in?
No, you know.
That's additional revenue.
You're adding taxes on the people. Number 2, they said they're going to increase GST. So you know the president set up a committee to look at prices on the market. When GST...
To bring prices down.
Yes, but yet they will increase taxes. It's ironical. How do you want to reduce prices on the market and then you are increasing taxes on the market? Thirdly, they say digital. So all the mobile money transactions through the banking system, there will be increased taxes on them. How did you write that? That is the reason why the Central Bank of Liberia came out of Mebo sometime in September. They said, as of December 1, there will be no government transaction via mobile money. Because the fear is the mobile money companies are handling huge cash. So what they are going to do is they're going to put taxes on the mobile money companies. The more they do transaction, the more they should pay taxes to the government. So on the basis of that, the government herself is now refusing to use mobile money for transactions for the payment of taxes or for the even payment of salaries to people. So those who taking pay through mobile money, CDC established that they're going to close that down. So now, you're going to see how harsh it will be in this country because only taxes will be increased. On the basis of that, if you look at the budget, go to
$1 million. I don't know whether GS is going to build a factory that will provide jobs for people. I don't know. Then $1 million will go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, thereby taking a budget from 26 million to 27 million. Already, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs jumped from 22 million to 26, another 4 million. Then there's other 1 million that says PSRP. I don't know how they determine, because for me, public sector investment will be some level of partnership that creates some level of industry that guarantees job for our young people, so that the next young person that is employed in the private sector and not in the public sector. So our young children, when you ask them, what do you want to be? They will say, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I want to work in a factory. But you ask a young child, I want to be president. I want to be.
And so, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on location where you're joining us from this time. We'd like to say welcome to BKS TV and welcome to the HITAL program here on BKS TV. On the HITAL, we say dialogue and not confrontation. We say words and not bullet. In tonight's edition of the show, we'll be hosting Mr. Anderson D. Miamen. Mr. Anderson Miamen is the Executive Director for Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, CENTAR for short. Tonight, Mr. Anderson joined us on the show to discuss issue relating to governance, transparency, accountability, anti-corruption reforms. You know, Mr. Anderson organization is one of the I don't know whether civil society organization in Liberia that actually fight for transparency in Liberia. So he will join us here tonight and give us a little brief history about CENTAR. We've heard a lot about CENTAR in Liberia, so he will be telling us a little much more about them and what are their roles. But again, our focus tonight will center around governance, transparency, accountability, anti-corruption reforms. Now, over the past months, the government of Liberia have been holding people accountable. I listened to a report from the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission that it had over 400 cases. Now, Mr. Miamen will be giving us a little backdrop about this thing, how it works, and what can the government do to us well so that these cases will be heard, the people who have allegedly invested government resources will be held accountable. So Mr. Miamen is in the back already. The CEO is here. We're going to bring the CEO on firstly. Then we'll bring Mr. Miamen. CEO, welcome.
Thank you, Jim. It's wonderful having you again. Our guest today is not just regular guest, but he's a relative of mine, my cousin, highly respected, someone I've admired for a very long time. Very well informed, smart individual from our days back in Butuo. He has always been that way. Wealth of knowledge. Look forward to hearing from him, learning from him regarding everything that is going on when it comes to transparency and governance. And he will touch on pretty much everything. He'll talk about the current budget, all the proposed budget for 2026. What's his take on it? It's going to be a great show. Look forward to hosting him tonight. And thanks to our viewer, thanks to our follower, and thanks to our panelists. We look forward to having everyone on here tonight so we can have a wonderful show.
Thank you ever so much. I've been hearing the name Anderson Miamen. I think maybe we've met before, but he will join us here tonight. And there are a couple of issues happening in Liberia, which as an expert, he will be giving us his expert opinion on these issues. Recently, his organization, the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, released a press statement regarding the proposed or alleged 10 million USD FOIA presidential villa. So they had their press conference on it, and he will be telling us almost everything about them. Let's not waste time. Mr. Miamin, good evening and welcome to BKS TV this evening. How you doing, my chief?
Good morning. It is evening at our end here. Genius Pine.
Ping,
I hope I'm getting
ping, Jion
Ping.
ping.
Okay. Genius Ping and my own person, Irving. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for all the great job you've been doing. At any point, if I'm not audible, please let me know. It's raining. Of course, the rain is subsiding here, but yeah, I'm happy to make my debut on your show. And thank you for everything. I think you started this uh, program, especially the online version, appears to be relatively new, but the system itself or the whole media network has been around for some time now. It's good that you've added this component, and yeah, continue to contribute meaningfully towards the growth and development of Liberia.
Thank you
You know,
ever
you heard
so
what he
much.
said, right? He made a subtle point that he said, "My debut." So it
Yeah,
means
Debbie.
that we got him on going forward. He will be one of our regular guests here. But it's great having you on here, cousin.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome, Mr. Miamin. For the sake of the discussion tonight, I want you to do a very, very detailed introduction about yourself, where you hail from, your educational background, your professional history, and let's start the conversation from there.
Yeah, so thank you for those listening, those watching. I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Like I said, it's always a pleasure to engage with the media. The media is a very critical part of what we do. They are a partner to civil society. They are a key part of the democratic process. If you're talking about the pillars of democracy or the things that you need to strengthen society, to improve governance, the media is a very important piece. So we appreciate the partnership. That's what we've always said to the media actors that we interact with, that they are important. They should continue to do the things that they do, despite the challenges, the low salary, poor working conditions, all the different challenges they face. They continue to stand up to do the things they do. I believe it is the same situation with the journalists we have. It is not that you may not be trying, but the conditions we have for journalists in Liberia is relatively poor. And we need to improve upon that such that they can, make some decent living, just as any other professional you can find around. Anderson Miamen is a Liberian. I hail from Butuo in Nimba. I've been around for some time. I went to a public school and graduated from a public school. At some point, I had to go to the inland school in Butuo, but then much of my education was in the public sector. I graduated from the John Pearson High School in Kanta, Nimba, and then moved on to Monrovia. Went to the University of Liberia, got my first degree in sociology, a master's in regional planning. I'm doing law at the moment, and I've been around, doing different things, supporting accountability and transparency efforts. I had a brief spell in the medical field, but not very long, and I transitioned. And much of my life, I've been working on, development related issues. This time around, at Sentai, I'm into governance, accountability, decentralization. We'll talk about some of the other things that we do here, but that's basically who Anderson is. I'm a family person. I have three children, a set of twins and a girl, and I have a host of other family members that I'm taking care of, that are part of the family. We're doing pretty well, by the grace of God.
It's great having you on the show here once again, Mr. Miaman. Again, the show is being relayed on Voice of Tapeta in Tapeta City, Nima County, and also on Voice of BKS in Butuo Town. Nema County. So this is widely listened to, and I'm glad that the people of Booyah can listen to you tonight to discuss some of those trending issues in Liberia. Before we go to the heat of the discussion, what does CENTAR stands for? What is their mission, their goal?
So CENTAR, the acronym CENTAR means Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. So CENTAL, Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia. CENTAR is a national organization. We are a civil society organization. We're independent of government. We're independent in our thoughts, our positions, and the different things we do. And we've been around for over 2 decades. CENTAR was established by a group of Liberians in 2004 who believe very strongly that Liberia needed independent voices. Liberia needed an institution or institutions that can engage with government constructively, work with development partners, work with the media, ordinary citizens, and particularly the government to promote the culture of accountability, transparency, and integrity in the country, especially so that we had gone to war prior to the 1989 war and all the successive, wars that we experienced. There were underlying factors that promoted inequality, social inequality, economic inequality, and all the different challenges that you can talk about. The wealth of the country was in the hands of very few people. Few people were enjoying, basically, that's what I'm saying, as opposed to the generality of the population or the entirety of the population. So because of that, people were aggrieved, people were angered by the things that were happening, and so the war came. So at that time, not much was really being said about governance. People, I mean, we had some elections in between, different things happened. We had the overthrowing of, the top of government and those different things in between. But at the center of all of these things was the whole issue of corruption, lack of opportunities, limited job opportunities, not doing much in terms of fostering development at the local level. The wealth of the country was not really being used in ways that would benefit the entire membership of the population. So we went to war. When CENTAR was established in 2004, the whole idea was that because we didn't have institutions that were engaging with government, the national budget, for example, not much conversation was taking place around it. Not many people knew about the budget process, what we have now, whereby you have the draft of the budget going around. People are having conversations in terms of what is in it, what is there for health, what is there for education, what is there for transportation in the different sectors. We really never really had that, in the past. So that is basically why the institution was established, such that it can be that voice. Of course, other institutions have come on along the way to support that process, but CENTAR was that institution. All the other civil society organizations that were around were focused on the human rights violations that were taking place, out of the flogging, the killing, the beating, and the different things that were happening. So CENTAR then came in to be that voice or to initiate that process of engaging with government to promote accountability, to talk about the national budget, to talk about decentralization, to talk about the laws that we can have in place to support the fight against corruption. And the whole idea is simple. When you deal with corruption, which we'll talk about as we move on, you ensure that the resources of the country are going into the programs and interventions that will benefit the people. When you fight against corruption, you basically ensure that, first of all, the budget is allocated or produced in a way that it is representative of the interests of the people, meaning that the things that matter to the people are the things that the budget will basically focus on. As you may know, the budget is the foremost development tool for the country or any country. That's where the priorities of the country are given country are. So if you don't budget well, it becomes a problem. It's basically what we have in the home. If you have an income and you don't budget well in terms of how you spend the money, if you own a budget for certain things, the food, for example, electricity, and some of the basic things that you need to keep the home up, the month will not even go anywhere. You'll be short of food. You'll be short of electricity. You'll be short of water and basic things. So that's the whole idea of the budgeting. If we apply to government, it means we're saying that the priorities of the government, the most important things that citizens need, should be reflected in the government. If it is building road, you have to fund that very adequately. If it is education, which is a key part of what is in the Constitution, Article 6 of the 1986 Constitution, that provides that government should educate the public to the extent of available public resources, because we have a democracy, and in democracy, citizens play a very important part. So for them to play that part, they need education, they need enlightenment. That's why education is one of the few things that is really captured in the Constitution, the Liberian Constitution. So all of these things put together, SEMTA came into being, and we're happy for the partnership with the media, with government, with civil society, with development partners. We have donors that are supporting our work. We can talk about them, but that's the whole history of SEMTA, how it came to being, and how Liberians at the time felt that there needed to be an institution to support good governance, accountability, transparency, and integrity related issues in the country.
I like the part you said accountability, transparency, and integrity related issues. Now, this brings me to my next question still on Centaur. Where do you guys get your funding? Because I know Centaur operates across Liberia when it comes to logistics, when it comes to staff moving from one place to another to educate the people about anti-corruption and all of the work you do. Where do you get your funding from? Is it from the government?
No, we cannot be an independent organization and we receive government funding. Of course, in other countries that are developed, that have strong systems and processes and all of that, government can support civil society in a way, but it is not for countries like Liberia that are still struggling. So we are supported by independent institutions, donor partners. USAID used to be a key supporter of our work, the U.S. government. But now, as they packed up. They're not in Liberia any longer. But the U.S. government is still here. U.S. government, the embassy is here, but USA has left. We have the embassy of Sweden is our biggest donor at the moment. They are providing resources to us since 2020. We entered into a partnership agreement that continues up to this point. So SIDA, or the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, is one of our main donors. We have the Embassy of Ireland in Liberia, that is one of the supporters of our work, or funders of our work at the moment. UN Women is currently supporting one of our programs. We've had other partners in the past, UNDP, for example, Transparency International. I didn't make that point that Centaur is the national chapter of Transparency International. So even though we're a local organization, but we work regionally and globally. We got connection. We're connected to an international organization that is the lead voice globally when it comes to anti-corruption and good governance. So we are part of that network, Transparency International Network. So we also get resources from the Secretariat of Transparency International. There are other donors we've worked with over time, GIZ, a couple of them, EBs, and all the other partners that have supported our work over time. So in short, we don't get government funding because of the nature of the work we do. We look up to donors like SIDA, like Ireland, UNDP, and other partners to support the different things we do.
What have been your accomplishments so far over the years?
I mean, it's a difficult question to answer. We could, go on and on in terms of saying a lot, but what I can say is that first, before even coming to the question around our impact, it will be to say, what are we into? So yes, we're into anti-corruption, we're into governance work, but there are specific things that we do. We want a corruption-free Liberia, and that's possible. People say, oh, is it possible for us to end corruption? As Centaur, we believe, yes, that's possible. Of course, there will be a struggle, given all the challenges we've had in the past, but with commitment, with will, with collective efforts, we can end the culture of impunity for corruption in Liberia. Even though globally there's no country that is free of corruption, the US, Sweden, even the Sweden that is giving us money, that is a key support of development efforts in Liberia, Norway, Finland, most of these countries have levels of corruption. But even as they do have corruption, everybody is yearning for opportunities to go to the West, the US and other areas to live, decently, despite all of the resources we have. So we want to see that society, Liberian society, that is free of corruption, that has enormous opportunities, that leverages the kind of opportunities and resources we have to improve the lives of the people. So Center is into research. Research is a key part of what we do. And basically by research, we're saying gathering data, evidence, information that you can use to make informed decisions. Information not just to be used by Center, but to put out there that the journalists can use, the media can use. When you are having your different conversations around anti-corruption, around governance, you need to make references to credible sources. You need to talk about data, independent information that people have gathered. And Center's report will be reports that you look up to. I don't know if you've been doing that, but I would encourage you to do that. To go on our website. We have different reports, our social media pages. We put a lot of information there. Look into them and then inform some of the conversations you have. So research is a key part of what we do. We do research around education. We do research around health. We do research around decentralization, anti-corruption, and different topics, mining, and different sectors and issues. That's one. Beyond research, we do very active work around public engagement and sensitization. And that is part of what we're doing right now tonight. The information we're providing, the education we're providing, because at the heart of the fight against corruption is what citizens' involvement, citizens' participation. If Liberians cannot be a part of the whole fight against corruption, we wouldn't go anywhere. So you need that public support, you need that enlightenment, you need that public engagement so that people can demand accountability at different levels. At the community level, in the churches, in the homes, in the schools, in the communities, and then you come to the district level in terms of people engaging with representatives, to align their priorities with the priorities of the communities, and to also come at even the county level and see how resources come into the county. In the case of Nima, for example, Bon County and Great Bassa, that are receiving development funds or social contributions from Metal Steel, such that those resources can be used in ways that will benefit the population. So that enlightenment, public education, and sensitization is a key part of what we do. Then we have what we call evidence-based advocacy. So evidence-based advocacy is to say, look, when we collect all the different pieces of information, the data, what do we do with them? We need to engage with government. We need to engage with the policymakers to push for reforms. At some point, we are pushing for setting up of the anti-corruption code that will, in a dedicated way, prosecute corruption. That's something that we're doing. To do that, you need evidence. You need to do research to point out, the fact that when you set up the code, it's going to help in a way to increase the number of cases that go to the court for prosecution. At the moment, with all of the different things that the government is doing, impunity for corruption remains very high. We'll talk about the indictment and some of the things that have been happening, but much of what we have been doing, civil society has a limit in terms of what we can do. Government also should do more broadly all the different things that are needed to support transparency and accountability. But because they have not been doing much, especially around prosecution, the level of corruption is very high in the country. A lot of the people, in fact, majority or most of the people who corrupt the system in government, outside of government, go with impunity. People come to government with little or nothing, get rich overnight, and there's practically been no accountability. So that advocacy part is to push government to say, look, do more. Put more resources into the budget for anti-corruption agencies. Put more resources into the budget for education. Put more resources for health. Put more resources for roads and the different programs that can directly benefit or impact the lives of the people. Put more resources into agriculture, such that people who are doing farming, we have very rich soil. Studies have shown that we can grow a lot in Liberia, but the empowerment in terms of giving farming implements to communities, to smallholder farmers, to transition from subsistence farming to mechanized farming, or even communal farming. We've not really done that. So putting resources into the budget will help us to do that. Those are the kind of advocacies we do. And at the center of everything we do also is what we call partnership, collaboration, networking, and all of that. We do that a lot within civil society, outside of civil society, with the media, with government, with international partners, such that we lean on expertise that we do not have. We can learn, we can share, we can engage, and do all of those things to ensure that we work supporting government's effort to end impunity for corruption. So those are broadly the things we do. We got projects in between to support these different areas. But if you're talking about more broadly what we're into, those are the main areas of our work: research, evidence-based advocacy, sensitization and awareness raising. Then we're into engagement around legal and regulatory reforms. So you need laws, you need institutional framework to support the fight against corruption, pushing for those laws to be passed. And when the laws are passed, for them to be implemented, those are things we do. And we're happy doing that. There have been challenges over time, but we're grateful to all of those that we've been working with, the partnership, the support we've enjoyed. And as we move on, we look forward to more of these kinds of engagements to be able to support government. Like I said, we're not that lead institution in the fight against corruption, no. LACC, which is the Liberal Anti-Corruption Commission, is the government agency that is leading when it comes to fighting corruption. You have the General Auditing Commission that leads on audit. You have internal audit agency that looks at internal audit in government. The Liberia Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative that looks at how the extractive sector, mining sector, agriculture, and the other extractive sectors are faring. You look at other institutions like the Financial Intelligence Agency that deals with money laundering, terrorism financing, financial crimes, basically, and some of the other institutions, the Procurement Commission, for example, that makes sure that how people procure goods and services in government are in alignment with the rules, especially transparency, accountability, value for money, and all of that.
Thank you. I will stop here for now. I have a lot of questions to ask, but let me let the CEO come in there before.
Yeah, thank you, Anderson. Again, as expected, we knew we were going to be learning a lot. I personally have been following your work, so I don't have a lot of questions about Cintas itself. I'll just go straight to my question when it comes to Liberia. So given everything you explained, all the great works that you guys have done in Liberia and continue to do, how would you assess the current state of transparency and governance when it comes to Liberia current overall?
I mean, overall, Liberia has come a long way in promoting the culture of accountability, transparency, and good governance generally. This government, based on the data or independent studies that have been conducted, not just by Cintas but other credible organizations, those records show that this government is improving marginally when it comes to the state of governance. And I will come to that, at some point. So if you're comparing this administration to the previous administration, for example, the records, the data, independent, credible data, we're not talking about, hearsay here, all of that. We're talking about institutions that are credible, that are known for conducting research, that have done studies, that point to the fact that there is marginal improvement. And I'm using marginal very carefully. So marginal would mean you are making progress, but very slowly. And the progress you are making, you are supposed to, take a leap. For example, we have the ability to take a leap, to jump. But instead of jumping, you are crawling and moving and all of that. So that's why we're seeing marginally. For example, there is this global group that usually does reports around the state of corruption in the country. So Transparency International, that we are a chapter of, is known globally for assessing government's performance of broadly the state of corruption, the fight against corruption. But there's one particular research that Transparency International does that looks exclusively at how governments across the world are faring when it comes to dealing with corruption. So not just Liberia, but different countries, the US, Sweden, I mean countries across the world, Asia, and all the different regions that you can think about. And that study is what we call the Corruption Perception Index, CPR. So that CPR, they've been conducting it for a very long time. Before the CDC government, when the CDC government came to power in 2018, Liberia's score on the Corruption Perception Index was 32 out of 100. So the way the research is done, not by Centar, but a very independent process that Transparency International initiates to do that. From 1 to 100, that's the range. So at 0, you are considered to be the most corrupt country or perceived most corrupt country. And at 100, you are considered to be the most transparent country. We're saying perception because the way corruption is, you only see people who, taking money like that. So the signs, the signs and the indicators will be all around for people to see. For example, we say, look, we got resources, iron ore, all of that, but then we're poor. So the point would be, what the reason for us being poor? Or Anderson was out of government. He didn't have anything. He couldn't even afford to eat a decent food daily. But then Anderson comes to government in less than 1 year, 2 years. Anderson has built a mansion. Anderson has sent his children to the US, or he sent his children to the best schools in the region or in Liberia. Anderson is engaging into multiple activities. So nobody has really seen me taking money. You not see me. You can't see the budget physically to say, oh, here's the budget. Anderson is putting his hands into the central bank to pick money or to get money. But the fact that Anderson has illicit wealth, Anderson is showing signs of illicit enrichment. So those are all things that people can put together. So that research, going back to it, in 2018, our score was 32. By the way, Liberia had 41 on the CPI in 2012. At that time, during Madam Salif's era, we were doing far more to set up the different integrity institutions that we have now. The challenge we got right now is that these institutions are not really being supported to work. The political will that is needed to make them to function at full capacity does not really exist. Even though governments over time have been making some efforts, but they have not been nowhere enough or near enough. So we've had challenges. But in 2012, we were at 41 on our CPR. Before Madam Salif left power in 2018, we had declined to 32. So instead of going up from 41, we went down to 32 because she started appointing her children in government. Robert Salif, she didn't take Robert Salif to send him to a Grand Crew to be superintendent or district commissioner. She sent Robert Salif to the oil company of Liberia to be pro bono board chair. And we all know how the story went in terms of what nepotism can do and how Nokar went bankrupt and all of that. So she had all the children in government, and those things put together, including putting her neck on the chopping board for some of the officials, like the finance minister at the time, Liberia score went down. So we didn't do enough to prosecute people who were accused of corruption. CDC came and made that score at 32. Before George Weah left power in 2023, we had declined to 25.
Wow.
So you need a score at 32. You are supposed to help to either maintain it or take it upward, but then CDC presided over decline on the CPI or Liberia's decline. This government has presided over relative improvement. So from 25, we are now at 27. So 2 points addition. That's negligible, that's marginal, but it shows relative signs of improvement. As much as based on our background and all the different things we've done, we shouldn't even be at that point with all of what we have, but that's what it is. So when we say marginal improvement, that's what we're talking about. Even the research report that we do, Centar produces what we call the State of Corruption Report, SCORE. There are several studies we do, but that's one of the studies that focuses really on the state of the fight against corruption in Liberia. So that research has two components. We do, there's a qualitative component and a quantitative component. So there's a piece that allows us to go in the field, interact with citizens at different levels to ask them about what they think about corruption, their experience with corruption, and all of that, and what they think we need to do as a country to deal with corruption, and how the think government is faring or what government is doing to tackle corruption or end corruption in the country. Then we have the other part that looks at data we collect from the media, engagements we have with informants, people who work with these integrity institutions, the information we get from them on a regular basis. So we put all of those things together. Over time, the research, when we started the research in 2021, that's when we did the first edition of the research. It showed that 90% of the people we're talking to, citizens we're talking to across the country, were saying that corruption level is very high in the country, and government was not doing much to tackle corruption. When we did that research in 2024, which focuses, basically or focused on this current government, it showed that, especially the edition for 2024, which we released in 2025, that the percentage of people who believe that government is not doing enough to fight against corruption declined by 7 points. So from 90%, it declined to 83%. So it means that more people at the time were saying that government is not doing much to fight against corruption. A little bit more, less people are now saying that government is not doing more to fight against corruption. So this is something that we're also looking at to say there is relative improvement. We can talk about the MCC score or the Millennium Challenge Corporation scorecard that just came up that also shows that Liberia passed the control of corruption indicator. What I want to say here is that with all of what I'm saying regarding marginal improvement, we still got corruption level very high in the country. Impunity is very high. It does not mean that there is no corruption in the country. There are multiple incidences of corruption. We saw, different situations regarding, for example, the president removing people from tenured positions. Our laws, there are certain public corporations or institutions that the laws establishing them protect the heirs because of the way we've done governance in Liberia, where people will yield to the whims and caprices of the appointing authority, or sometimes what the president says is what the heads of these public corporations would do. We deliberately decided to insulate some of these institutions. By insulate, I'm talking about, say, for example, BKS TV or this radio station. You could put a process in place to say that, look, whoever will hear the station, you as a CEO will not remove that person at will. Or the board, for example, nobody can just remove the person who will be heading the radio station. To do that, you will have to go through a process, or there has to be a genuine reason, of course, why that person will be removed. So that's what we have for institutions like the Liberia Telecommunications Authority, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, and many of the public institutions that we have, Governance Commission. This president, when he started, he began removing people from tenured positions. LTA is one example. When this government started, the president also proceeded to act when certain allegations came up against public officials. In some instances, he wouldn't act. So he was fast to remove people or to take action against people. In some instances, like the officials at LRRC, when they were accused of corruption, it didn't take any time, he suspended them. There are other examples. But when it came to LTA, the person he appointed, Abdullah Kamara, GAC audit report came up on him that he was implicated in corruption. It took more than 1 year before Abdullah Kamara could leave LTA. That's a sign of partiality. You can't have multiple standards. Use one rule and deal with people. But if you were out here when something happens and you delay here when something happens, then it becomes a problem. Even right now, there is a challenge, an issue that the government has been very slow to address. There's this allegation around, some presidential villa that has been constructed in Lofa County. The information came up more than 2 months ago. We reached out to the Mana River Union to ask regarding the status of that project because a senior official of government had linked that project to the Mana River Union. They declined to comment on it. But basically what, everything that has been happening, what to show is that the government is not proceeding well when it comes to transparency and accountability around that project. At some point, a government official will say, oh, I'm aware. Another time, they'll say, oh, but I don't have all of the details. How come government is implementing a project, allegedly spending 10 million, even if it is not, even if it is $1 US, that you are not clear to provide information to the public? How come a presidential project in Foya, Lofa County is preferred over strengthening hospitals and clinics that people can go to access, medical services, quality medical services? What rationale went into doing that project or prioritizing that project as opposed to housing units for people that can help to live, persons with disability and other people to give them homes that they can live in? So all of those things to put together, the government has not really been able to come clear to the public to give information regarding what they're doing so far. But we continue to engage. That is our responsibility. We keep asking, even today during the press conference we had, we made a point again that as much as Liberia passed the MCC Control of Corruption scorecard, there are still issues to address, and this is one of the issues that we continue to knock the door of government to address. Come to the public with very clear information on this LOFA project. Who is behind this project? Who is funding it? Because we checked in the 2025 budget and we didn't see any line there regarding that project. So then who is funding it? Is it some business, person? Where the money is coming from? Because the source of financing is very important. We know how businesses and other people can support politicians, and at the end of the day, they come to power and they give these people contracts and all of that, bypassing procurement and other laws. So we're very concerned, like I believe you are, and many Liberians out there, about this project. But that's not just the only accountability issue we have on the ground. The budget is up. We'll talk about that. We're having some detailed conversation tomorrow, national dialogue around the budget and financing. Maybe after that dialogue, we can come back at some point to talk about how and when and some of the other things we're doing. But in general, while it's true that there's marginal improvement compared to the previous administration, there are still multiple issues. Asset declaration, for example, we have the code of conduct that says that when you come to government, declare your assets, your incomes, and liabilities. And that law is basically meant to promote accountability. When Avi is coming to BKS as the other CEO or wherever position you call it, let him declare his asset. In this case, it is a private institution, so the law may not apply. But if you have policy internally on that, it means that you have to declare your assets. What basically you'll be saying is that, look, I own 2-story buildings in Butuo. I own one, maybe house in Ganta. I have 5 cars. I have XYZ. I have so and so shares in so and so company, and my total worth is maybe 500,000. So when we know that, when we get that information, the anti-corruption agency will then proceed to verify that information and come to the public to say whether or not you've lied on an oath or what you say is the truth and nothing but the truth. Then when you begin your public service joining, we then check on what you're doing. So if your salary is 5,000, 10,000 in government, we'll then be checking to see your spending trends and all of that. In that asset declaration form, you're also seeing the different sources of income you have. If you got shares, like I said, in different companies and maybe monthly, all of the resources you get amount to 10,000 or 20,000 USD, you say that so that people don't falsely accuse you, for example, the benefit of it, of using your own money when they are thinking that you are using government money. So if you came to government with some money, then they will not say, oh, but see, Ivan over there, they made a hungry, you're passing around, he didn't have anything. Laying there, he came and he now start building a house. That place where he was building over there, he's been struggling to build it for 10 years. He had not even gone anywhere. As soon as he came to government, he finished that project. So sometimes people get falsely accused, but they contribute to that because they don't want to provide information to the public. So that's the whole idea of that asset declaration law. The Anti-Corruption Commission is supposed to prevail on the different actors in government to declare the assets. The law says you should declare when you come to government. After 3 years, you should redeclare your assets. And then when you are leaving government, if the government is leaving power and you are leaving, you do exit declaration, what is called exit declaration. So you're doing 3 declarations. You come to power, you declare. 3 years down the line, you redeclare. And when you are leaving government, you do your exit declaration. The law also provides that even you are still in government, if you are the deputy managing director, for example, at LRRC or maybe the port, National Port Authority, when you are moving, when you are elevated to the managerial position to be the head of the company, the law says redeclare. So if you are assistant minister, you make your declaration. When you are promoted or when you assume the role as a deputy minister, you have to redeclare immediately, because at that point your salary changes. So the spending, the assumption is that with 2,000 US dollars, for example, you will spend in a certain way. With 5,000 US, your spending will be different. So the law, is set up in a way that you redeclare such that we know your new salary, your new income, your benefits, and everything. Then when you also get promoted as a minister proper for any agency, post and telecommunication or information or agriculture, you do another declaration. So that's the whole asset declaration law. That law has already been implemented. It's a very important accountability instrument, but the enforcement has been a challenge. So it just goes to the point I was making, that we have very good laws, we have very good institutions in place, but these institutions are not really supported. So because they are not supported to work, the laws are not enforced, impunity is very high. When we say impunity, we're talking about people doing things and going free without being punished. That's basically what we call impunity when it comes to the governance and the whole anti-corruption conversation. So until we can do that, we will continue to lag behind on these different indicators. Our problem right now in Liberia, we can establish institutions, we can pass laws to enhance what we have, but the most important challenge we have in dealing with corruption is prosecuting people. Once we do that, we're going to make some real progress in terms of any impunity for corruption and making sure that the resources of the country are going to the things that matter. The resources of the country are going towards health, education, agriculture, and the sectors that really benefit the people.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you that, and then I think you already answered that. The second part to my question there, I was going to ask about, given everything that you just described there, what would be the biggest obstacle when it comes to, center vantage point as far as implementing these things, how to get this public institution be transparent, and you just basically answered that question there. So I will move to the next one, which is the biggest one. I think we need to share more light on this, the budget, the elephant in the room there. When you started having your conversation, you talked about budget being a very important part of this whole process. The budget that passes, how does it align with our people, the interests of our people? Now, you talk about the 2026 budget, the draft budget there. Given everything you know for now and everything that you've read, some of the things that you talked about not being in the draft budget, the allocation, some of them I personally believe to areas like the security sector being highly funded, all that thing. Do you think that this budget actually represent the people that you guys are fighting for? Does it really send a signal out there that this budget is the people focused budget or center budget?
So on the budget discussion, may I say that we're thoroughly reviewing the budget. The way we work here at Centaur is to do evidence-based engagement. We're not, we don't just jump up to speak if we don't have the facts. We don't throw out allegations if we do not have the facts. So we do a lot of work around the budget. I didn't talk about the specifics of some of the programs we do. We run a program here we call the Open Expenditure Initiative. And that Open Expenditure Initiative has been a long-standing program here, a program area, either any way you want to call it. And basically what we do with our program is to say that, look, The budget, there's been a lot of conversation around open budget. So you hear about open budget initiative, OBR. And that open budget initiative is to say, look, we have to make the budget open. When something is open, it's transparent, people can see and ask questions. Initially, I said that we went to war because nobody even knew about budget. So if you don't know about it, how do you know where the country's resources are going, all of that? People used to just see roads or you see cars. You didn't know what budget was, how it looked like, all of that. So at least for now, we're having conversations around the budget. Of course, for the most part, it is still benefiting majority of the people in high positions, the salaries in government, the benefits and all of that very high. But it's a good thing that we're having a conversation. We'll do a detailed analysis. We're doing that. We got a bit of information around the budget and what it is, but I'll reserve substantive comments around the budget, at a moment to come back. I'm sure I will come back here. I hope to, it's a promise I'm making, to come back for us to have a dedicated conversation around the budget. But let me say this much. Over time, the budgets we've had in the past have not really been people-centered. Yes, there have been different interventions, allocations here and there in terms of what's going to health, education, and all of that. And may I say that we need far more resources, in a country to support our different development priorities. The deficit we have in terms of infrastructure, for example, some analysis have put it that we need billions to be able to address the infrastructure deficits we have. Roads, for example, housing and all the different things that we need to have a better, country, developed country. So at the moment, the budget, the size of our budget is very low. We're just talking about 1.2 billion, a little over 1.2 billion right now. It has been below 1 billion. A country like Liberia, with all these minerals, resources, forests, and all of that, we should be doing far more than that. And one of the reasons for that is corruption. The loopholes in the system in terms of customs, for example, when I was growing up, like you and all of you there, in the interior, the custom guys were the go-to people. If you got immigration here, you got custom here, you got these other people here, the custom person was, the person that was looking very good amongst all those security, actors or the people who were assigned at these different, borders. And it's all because these people play with the money. Accountability was very limited at the time, even though right now you still got limited accountability, but there are measures in place now to at least ensure that there's relative transparency and accountability. So the loopholes in the system affect the extent to which we mobilize domestic resources. As a result, we have not maximized revenue generation from all the different sources we have internally. Even real property tax in terms of collection, it was recently that the Revenue Authority was talking about piloting some programs to ensure that we collect real property taxes. So we're still lagging behind on that. The whole issue with tax too is the whole fact that people need to get motivated to pay tax. Studies have shown that people ordinarily will not want to pay tax, but they get motivated to pay if they're seeing impact. But who wants to be contributing to something that will just be going into the pockets of individuals? That you wake up one morning, you're hearing that there's some 10 million project taking place in Foya-Lofa County, or project that has never taken place in our place before. The president becomes president, President Bouakai comes to power, and in no time, a major project is being undertaken in his district. What does it tell you? It tells you that public resources are being used in the process, even if money is not coming from the budget directly, but it is because of the connection of the president, his presence at the executive mansion, that this thing is happening. When he was outside the government, it wasn't happening. So he's now the head of the country. He controls the budget. He controls all of the different public corporations. That's why this is happening. That's the logical inference or conclusion that anybody can make. That you were not doing this thing before, you come to government, in no time, we start to see some construction work taking place. And it's the same thing that Judge Weah did. When he came to power in 2018, in no time, he started breaking down his properties. Of course, the scale of what he did at the time is not what we're seeing with this Lofa incident. At some point, we're seeing the Joseph Boakai Foundation doing a lot in Liberia. That was a transparency and accountability issue. That foundation was seen nowhere around. Even if it existed, it was very low-key, low-profile. But as soon as he became president, we started to see the Joseph Boakai Foundation making donations here and all kinds of things. As soon as the President Boakai came to power in 2023 when he won the elections, he started making donations. Whether you want to talk about the oil, tanker victim in Salala, Lofa County, he started making donations all over the place. The point is, where did he get the resources from? He didn't get these resources before coming to government. His party was evicted from their headquarters in Congo Town on grounds that they didn't have money. So how come suddenly you come to power, you are announced as president, and you start making donations all over the place? How come your foundation is now doing stuff here, doing things here, doing things here? So these are the accountability issues. Like I said, the way corruption is, you will not see people putting their hand going to central bank to take money from there, put it on their back and walk away with it. What you will be what you will see some of the time will be the signs, the indicators, what the M&E people call indicators, or in the development realm, what they call indicators. What will you see to know that this thing is happening? What will you see to know that somebody is enjoying from the education they have, for example? So you were in the interior, like you there, Arvin, like, Anthony, myself, we were going to school, we were cutting palm, we were toting things on our head to go to Benway or other places, to sell and buy copybook and other things. Credit to our parents for what they did, but we had to step in at some point to help. What do you see right now? You see Arvin hosting this show, from the US. You see Anthony, asking questions and working and earning and sustaining his family. You see Anderson and other people doing likewise. So these are things that you look at to say, okay, their person is enjoying now. Of course, enjoyment is relative. So all I'm saying is, in governance, we look at indicators for different things. If there's corruption, you will see the signs. You will see the different indicators. A government that spends a lot more money on buying expensive cars will not have more resources to spend on the people. And these are things that we need to address. We spend a lot on waste. How come you are comfortable? Nobody says you shouldn't live a decent life, a better life. But you don't have to ride a 100,000 or 75,000 USD car to live a better life. No, I don't need that. You don't need that. Especially so if it is coming from the coffers, public coffers. A lot of poor people around. You need to build roads. You need to improve the healthcare delivery system. The clinic in Buto, for example, does not have job. People have to leave from there and go to Ganta, Saklepi, or other places. Even in Saklepi and Ban we're talking about, they don't have enough in terms of adequate medical facilities. So if you need to spend wisely, then you can't be spending 75,000, 80,000, 60,000 on vehicles. You can't be buying cars every 3 years for lawmaker. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. We're not poor, but we've made ourselves poor over time. So that's why we call Liberia poor. But Liberia should be donating to other countries, giving all of what we have. We were on par with Japan and other countries long time ago. But see where we are now. The reason for it is corruption. And that is why, like I said, CENTAC came into being as a partner to government to support processes that can help to promote accountability. Somebody will say, oh, whole day you're talking and all of that. Yes, that's the nature of the work we do. The work we do is not the kind of work that you go to give bag of rice to people, to make donations here, to build hand pump and all of that are physical for people to see. But the enlightenment, the information we're providing today will help people to understand what happens around the budget. When you're having another conversation where their lawmakers go around, other officials go around, they will use the information to engage with them. We say access to information is power. When you have information, you engage constructively. When you have information, you ask the hard questions. When somebody answers, if you know, and they're lying to you in terms of the answers they're providing, you will decipher, you will distinguish the lies from the truth, and you will come back with follow-up questions. So that's the kind of work we do, the empowerment we do. We create spaces for people to engage. There are different things that we're doing here. We run an integrated club program or youth engagement program. That program works with young people in schools. So we go to universities, put young people together, train them, provide them resources that they can engage to deal with academic fraud and other accountability issues in their schools. We support the youth to go to high schools and communities to engage, to create anti-corruption awareness. Some of those children have had very positive stories. You were asking about what impact we've made. Those youths, there are some of them that said before they joined the program, they were inflating their fees. They were overcharging their parents. There was a particular girl who said she has her parents in the US. She was attending one of these universities, and she almost doubled the amount that she was paying as school fees. And the parents were not hesitating when she asked to pay. But then when she joined the program, she got to know that inflating costs or lying to your parents was a wrong thing to do. Since then, she started asking for the real fees, and she gave her experience when we took her out to interact with other young people, and she was talking about how transparency is important, accountability, integrity, and all of that. There are different other examples. There was a particular situation because we run what we call the Advocacy and Legal Advice Center here. So that center is basically a place where you can report corruption. So if you have corruption issue or you got reason to believe that something fishy is happening that is against public interest, you can call our hotline. The hotline is 4432, free of charge. You have Lone Star, you have Orange, you can call that number 4432. So you call the number, somebody will speak to you and we'll get the information. If it requires us to do some follow-up, we'll do it and then get the information and submit the complaints to the Liberal Anti-Corruption Commission. If it is an issue related to sexual and gender-based violence, we file them to the requisite institution. Some of the cases that came to us are the cases that LACC is dealing with right now. In fact, the most recent case that LACC won in court that is on appeal at the Supreme Court at the moment was a case that we filed there to LACC through the Advocacy and Legal Advice Center. So talking about impact, those are the things that we're doing here. There was a community in Nima that had a situation regarding trust. They used to pay fines, the culture in the interior, not just in Nima, but other places, is that when you abuse, you will pay a fine. That fine will go to the leaders of the community to have it. So in this community, when we went, in fact, we didn't go there initially. They heard about this Advocacy and Legal Advice Center and that hotline that I just called, 4432. So this community leader who was collecting the money that people were paying decided to eat the money. So they engaged him on it. And at some point, the people said that they were not going to pay fine any longer. So those who were violating the law, when they tell them pay the fine, they will say, no, I'm not paying because you ate the first money. So when they heard about that center, they called and we went to the community. We intervened. That person paid the money and law and order was restored in that community. So those are some of the things that we do beyond the core advocacy, different other things we do. So, I mean, the whole conversation around accountability is something that all of us have to be a part of.
Right.
The budget, like I said, needs to be people-centered. At the moment, this current budget, we've not really gone deep into it. We're doing the analysis. We'll come to the public. But the signs are that there are some positives that we can take from the budget in terms of the fact that we've even gone up and talking about 1.2 billion. That's laudable. We thank the government for that. Of course, budgets are projections. It doesn't mean that 1.2 billion is sitting down somewhere that the government can take. We will have to make effort. The government will have to make effort to collect that money so that the spending entities can spend. But the signs are also that we still have, monies going to institutions that really do not matter. When I say they really do not matter, it does not mean that these institutions do not need resources. But why are we putting more money into the security sector than putting into education, for example? What's the rationale for that? And these are the sectors that there's been a lot of secrecy around over time. You don't get to see how NSA is spending. So
And
it's easy for people to,
it's not also audited. NSA, from what I heard,
yeah,
it's not audited.
definitely. And when this government came to power, the president at some point said that NSA would be audited. In no time, he changed his tone. Since then, there's no publicly available information that NSA is being audited. But the president said it very clearly. Some of the challenges we see with this government, when they came to power, I was talking about how the president was spending here and there, how they even went to the insurance company, not insurance, but NASCAR,
Mhm.
and took some money from NASCAR for vehicles and all of that. Those issues are still there. Even people that they were accusing of corruption in the previous administration, some of those people they are whining and dining with them right now. What has changed? So, as much as there are some positive developments that we can look at, the government is instituting reform, civil service reforms. They are removing ghosts from the payroll, cleaning up the system, and that is saving government of some resources. That's laudable. LACC has indicated that more public officials have declared their assets under this government than the previous administration. That is laudable. Even though, like I said earlier, the anti-corruption agency is not doing much in terms of bringing out reports regarding the assets that have been declared, because the value in the asset declaration process is not just people making mere declaration to the commission. We want to see results. We want LACC to come to the public and say, look, what I've been reported is true or not true. But if having submitted papers that we can't get any information, I mean, what value is it to the
Yeah.
public? But it's a good thing for people to make that declaration. The other side is what we want the LACC to do. One of the positives of this government is the fact that they set up the office of the ombudsman. When we passed the code of conduct in 2014, it provided for very clearly establishment of the office of the ombudsman. Manan Salif and George, we have failed to do that. Joseph Barker came in no time. He set up the office of the ombudsman to deal with violations of the code of conduct. So if you're a public official and you are not supposed to campaign, engage into active political activities, or you are not supposed to do certain things and you go against the code of conduct, they can take you to the office of the ombudsman, they will investigate and then sanction you. So that's something that didn't happen under the previous administrations, and this president has done. Laudable. So at Centab, because we're an independent organization, when we see the good things, we talk about them. When we see the bad things, we talk about them. We are not politicians. In fact, politicians should have integrity. So being a politician does not mean you can say the truth. In fact, you should even be truthful more, because you are a leader and you want to even assume state power. So when you start lying while campaigning or engaging into political activities, it is the same line you are going to take to the House of Representatives of the Senate, or you're going to take to the presidency. So politicians should not be excused, from truth telling. We shouldn't say, oh, because a politician may lie. You see the good, you don't say it and talk only about the bad things, or for those in power, you only talk about the good things, the bad things that are happening, you don't talk about it. No, because it's all about Liberia. Even though you might be from a particular political party and this person is from this political party, I'm from the civil society background, but we are all Liberians, first of all, and we should seek the best for Liberia. We can't seek the best for Liberia by lying, by cheating, by telling lies or stories. So, I mean, it's a good thing being here. This is what we do all of the time. We are not, too much of the talking people. Or
honestly, I want to ask you. I think
yeah.
But yeah, thanks though. I think
if you want to ask us, I still got some time with you.
Yeah, you've been here for an hour and 12 minutes. So we'll save that budget discussion, like you said. Please, once you guys come up with your final conclusion and everything is said and done, please feel free to come back, because we want to hear about it. We want to discuss that in details, and we would love to hear your perspective on that. So I think that's all the question that I have for you. Again, it has been great having a conversation with you. So I'll let DK and Junior take over.
Thank you so much, CEO. DK, welcome to the show. Let's hear your 2 questions, Chief.
Thank you. Sorry, honestly, our weather here changed. I was time here, so time that after 5 years, already late, and I'm on the freeway.
Okay.
Let me appreciate you for everything you continue to do. I know you sensitize almost like you were small. You went to in your head. There are a few things that in your advocacy that I want you to please include. Those things I think that I see that burning. Like you and myself from Nima and we from Buyao. There's a lot of bands as a woo. And I think that place is still in your system. That Sasewu is that scientific. Anybody will just look at any other person because back home, when you are all working with state, you the witchcraft.
Yeah.
They will just accuse everywhere in Nima and take you to that place. How that say is a minister, whatever they giving in, I say nobody know. But there is a lot of bad, but those things are still happening. What is Center doing to educate our people or prevail on government to stop the particular secure thing that is in our district? The next thing I want you to talk about is pressing. Our in Labua got affected, and people away who are now in Labua also very affected is this land right out or reselling on land. And I say, everybody who are born there in Liberia before, among 5 persons, 2 will be affected. It's in any way helping our people to solve the problem. Where my kids stay now, about our land, it was 2 land that have land or it want to get, have land. They relocated me more than 6 times. Johnson Way. Police, yeah, so Anderson go ahead before police collect me.
All right. DK, thank you so much. It's good seeing you. It's been a while. Your questions are very good questions. What I want to say initially is that as an organization, we have a scope in terms of what we do. So there are different civil society organizations that do different things. We may work around the issues you're talking about. For example, that Sasewu thing is what they call trial by ordeal. So it has been prohibited by the judiciary, by the government. It is just the lack of enforcement of the rules we have that has that practice ongoing still around in the different communities. But it has been prohibited a long time ago. So it's not on the books again. It was a culture, but it's prohibited. So of course, you're right. We need to engage with the government and push for enforcement of the rules banning trial by ordeal because, like you said, it's not scientific. If you want to prove the guilt of somebody, especially for a criminal offense, it has to be through the court system. It has to be through a logical process, a predictable process, a scientific process, what is called a due process. So due process means the person has an opportunity to be heard, to respond to the allegations against them, and you can do that by going through the trial by ordeal thing. So I agree with you. It's something that we need to engage with government to enforce in terms of the ban. The other question around the Land Rights Act and the whole issue of criminal conveyance of land. So that's what you were talking about, criminal conveyance of land, selling a piece of land to multiple people. Our law is against that. The Land Rights Act is against that. It's criminal for anybody to sell land to multiple people, knowingly and willfully. You can only sell what you have. That's what the law says. So if you had a piece of land and you sold the land out, you don't have it any longer. So it's like, selling something that you don't have, which is criminal in nature. So that's why that act is criminal. And The government has to enforce the law on that. I know there have been some efforts on that line, but they need to do much more because there are still complaints around regarding the sale of land to multiple people. So yes, it is a challenge that we need to address. Access to land in terms of how we govern the sector is important. Transparency needs to be everywhere, and that's why we were saying earlier about the need for the promotion of integrity across society. Integrity is when people are doing the right things when nobody is watching. Transparency is the art of being clear and open for people to see what you're doing, especially so if you're in public service, if you're a public official. Even those of us who are in civil society and doing advocacy and other work, we still need to be accountable to the public because we're working for and on behalf of the public. We might not be in government to preside over government institutions, but we need to lead by examples ourselves. And that's what we've been saying all along, or we can say all along. When we go into the communities to interact with people, when we're engaging with partners, we make that point that look, when you are telling people to do something, you have to be the first to do it. You can't say do what I say, but don't do what I do. So you have to do it, and then you teach by doing. People learn fast when they see you doing something than just saying it verbally like, oh, do this, do this, do this, do this. You know, you come to class and you tell the students 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is 2. You're not displaying it for them to see. It's easier when you bring rocks and put them together and say, well, you see the one rock, you see the other one. When you put it two together, how many in my hand here? You say 2. You know, like that. The children will understand, they will learn fast. Then when you just say 1, then you say 1, then you say 2. So we need to lead by example in essence, in the things we do. Integrity in government starts from the home. And that's why we have other programs or other activities that focus on homes, communities, and the different places. The people who go to government come from the different homes, come from the different communities. Our way or our approach to engaging with public officials has been problematic over time. By the time somebody is appointed in government, we think that that person now is supposed to be the one to buy, debate top, and take care of all the different problems we have. When we do that, we put extreme pressure on our leaders, but they have also created a condition for that. I was at some point in this lawmaker, a former lawmaker many years ago, went to that conversation, a very high level meeting, and he was making the point that, oh, you know, we need to put more money in the budget for ourselves. What we even giving to ourselves for social development or work in the districts, small, because the people coming to us every now and then. So I said, oh, so you really think the way to solve the problem is to give you more money? That is not a solution. Because many of you receive these resources and don't use them for the internal purposes. So the way to holistically address that problem is to address the causal factor or the underlying factor. So if you put more money in the budget for yourself, when people come to you, you give to them, you are only addressing the symptom of the problem. You are not addressing the cause of the problem.
Right.
The cause of the problem is that these people do not have quality education. These people do not have job opportunities. These people do not have spaces where they can be accommodated. So when you use the money wisely in ways that will create jobs for these people to work, they're not going to come to you any longer. Even if they'll come to you, the number of people who come to you for help will significantly reduce. But you can't say here that they should put more money in the budget for you to be giving handout to people and all of that. When some of you even use bulk of that money and don't even use them for the intended purposes. So I'm just saying this to make the point that we need to do more. All of us, wherever we find ourselves, we need to make impact. Government needs to do more. And the thing is simple. People say, oh, you know, Aaron, now you're talking about government. What do you want us to do? Do you want us to go to Arvin? Of course, Arvin is a private citizen, DK, you know, Anthony, sorry, is it Anthony, right?
Junior.
Yeah, so you are private citizens. You could help, you could intervene, you could support government, but it is not your foremost responsibility. It is government's responsibility, and that's why we pay our taxes to government. You are in the US there. You pay your taxes to government. You don't pay your taxes to private individuals.
Yeah.
And the idea is simple. You come here, reside over the resources, take over our treasury department, take over the justice department, take over all the different units in the bureau, all the different ministries and agencies. You have public works to take care of our roads. You have the Ministry of Education to help the education sector and make sure that our schools are running properly. You take care of the Ministry of Internal Affairs to work with the superintendents and these different people and make sure that the counties are functioning properly. We are putting money in the budget to support decentralization. The county council and all these different structures, are working. So that's the power of the social contract. That's the social contract theory. People elect their leaders, and the assumption is that the leaders will in turn provide quality services. They will lead in the best way possible to project the interests of the people. We have not had that in Liberia over time. Governments have come, they've done some things. It is not that nothing has happened at all. Even the CDC government, with all the accountability issues they have, George Weah built the Emory Hospital in Bapolu County. George Weah built the 14 military hospital
Yeah.
that people are right now on the highway. George Weah built the Invisible Park that people are using now for recreation and all of that. They did some things. His problem was that he really did not focus on governance, and we made that point to them all along that, look, accountability is very key. Transparency and accountability helps your administration, not just government, but even all of us. Partners are trusting, will not trust you to give you money directly if you're not credible. And anytime donor partners have money for you and they don't trust you, they will pass that money through a third party. And every time money passes through a third party, some of that money goes to that person to manage the fund. We had that situation, for example, with the household food distribution program during the COVID-19 in Liberia. The money that's supposed to go to food and other things, they send it through WFP. WFP took a substantial amount of money, from that money for, administrative expense because they were overseeing the use of that money. If that money had gone to a government institution directly, the portion that are going to WFP for administrative expense would not have gone to them. So, these are examples. Some of the donor partners we have in Liberia that bring resources here, they bring people along to manage these resources. They wouldn't do that if they trusted the system enough. So trust in government is very key. It was lack of trust that took us to war. People felt that the way things were, they didn't see their ways, too clearly in terms of, opportunities coming for them to live, decent life and all of that. So transparency is the way to go. Integrity is the way to go. In our different areas of work where we find ourselves, we need to exhibit integrity. But more importantly, government has to make sure that it is using the resources of the country properly. All of us can go to the mansion to be president. All of us can go to the Capitol building to be finance minister. All of us can go to the Ministry of Agriculture. So we elect the president, the vice president, and this lawmaker in turn work with the different players, especially the president, appointing these people to serve. When you come to government, you have to be a servant and nothing more than that. A servant would mean you are prioritizing the interests of your people. When you are making decision, the first thing you think about is, will this decision impact positively the life of this old man that is making farm in Butu, Temple, or any of these places? Will this decision positively impact the school in this location? If that question you can't answer in the affirmative, it means that your decision is wrong. You shouldn't support that kind of decision. The budget, as the deliberation is ongoing right now, will do the analysis and provide some suggestions to the government. But our general position is that the government has to do more to make sure that the budget is really people-centered. What that means is much of it should go to programs and interventions that will directly affect the lives of the people or impact the lives of the people. When you fund agriculture, it puts money into the pockets of people. When you support education adequately, it provides quality education that then empowers people to work. Some of the people who don't have work doing right now is because the level of the quality of education, the guy is very poor. But if you have quality education, you will innovate. Even if you can't, be employed by somebody, you will use your knowledge and find ways that you can survive legitimately or lawfully. But quality education is extremely important. We don't want just quantity, we want quality.
Okay.
That's extremely important. Properly functioning schools will empower people, will have a generation of leaders that will have what it takes to lead properly, effectively, and efficiently. When we support the health sector, we're not going to have many people dying like the way we see happening, all around the place. That before they take people from Butuo to Bao or Saklepi or Ganta, they've died along the way. That's unacceptable in this age and time. With all the resources we have, we've had this road challenge, as people can see from Charlie Kingtown. How come we're still having these challenges with all of what we have? When will our roads be passable? Will be paved? I mean, this thing is happening in other countries. Every time you go to Ghana, you see major changes. It's not magic they're playing. They have corruption. They have their own issues. But, I mean, they're progressing. We are making some strides as a country, but the progress is very slow. The pace of our development is very slow. And it's not slow because we don't have the ability to mobilize resources. No. It is because we just have, we've refused to do those things that will get us to get the most out of what we have. And if we can do that, we will get to where we want to get as a country.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Before Gino come in for you to conclude there, so I will say, I have some other questions about Meta Steel. Since we are saving the whole budget topic for the next time, when you come back, then we'll blend that with Meta Steel. I have questions about how Nema County, Grand Bassa, and other effective counties are benefiting from this all lack of. So next time when you come back with that budget discussion, I will have those questions ready for you. But overall, thank you so much, my brother. It has been a wonderful having you. Again, great insight, very educative. We learned a lot, and we look forward to hosting you.
The network.
You can hear me, right? Or the network breaking? Jim, I think you can have him give his closing parting statement.
Mr. Miami, are you hearing us?
Yeah, I think his network is tripping.
I don't know whether you could call him to rejoin us. I think that would be the best. Again, folks, welcome to today's edition of the HITAL program on BKS TV. On the HITAL, we say dialogue and not confrontation. We say words and not bullet. Mr. Miami, are you hearing us?
Let me see if I can reach out to him.
Yeah, let's do that.
Rejoin. But his stuff is moving though, right?
Yeah, but he's kind of like not hearing us. I think the network is really slow for his end, so he's not hearing our voices.
No, he can hear us. Let's see, removing, adding back. Let me call him real quick and see.
Okay. So, folks, go for this break and we'll be right back. Stay with us.
Has tradition, but the practice and song around bound
Yes.
was a reverse, and the way in which let me explain to you. In our tradition, a zoo when a zoo die or when a special focus person die in our setting, it is usually someone from the family, from the bloodline. During our ceremony, the younger one is the one who is younger than the one that died,
He is selected by the family consensus to jump over the barrier, meaning that, okay, we're asking you to step in the shoe of this person. But it had never been politically driven. It's not a political activity. But on the reverse, this one was politically motivated. And again, you missed his
looking for Koga, his nephew.
Yes, his nephew and also his uncle, because Senator Johnson's mother came from Koga's family. Koga's father and Senator Johnson's mother came from the same mother and the same father from Gomanplay. Okay, in the Booyah area from Gomanplay. So Senator Johnson is not a Koga. His mother, came from the Koga family. His mother was a Koga, but Senator Johnson was not a Koga. He is from the Johnson family. So in that direction, the way Senator Johnson part, if there is a tradition there, and thing with respect to zoo, as I was saying, Lion Society, things that I don't know anything about that. It is one of the Johnsons that should have jumped over the body. But it is the younger one that can jump over, the father. But the father cannot jump over the son. Koga is a father, according to tradition, is a father of Senator Johnson. How can the father go jump over the son? Okay? Even the way in which he did the jumping, I have witnessed these things on many occasions. They don't do it as a rope jump. There's a special way you jump. But I saw him doing a rope jump. The just jump with your 2 feet. There's certain thing that he done. But for me, I can't sit down here and explain it. And to have displayed our culture worldwide, usually we don't do it on camera. Which I see is as exposing our culture to public distribution. That was quite shocking. And instead of a smaller Johnson, a junior Johnson jumping over and Koga as a father to go there, I describe it as what? Theft of heritage. The heritage belonged to the Johnson, not the Koga. So it was a theft of heritage. You rot Senator Johnson's children.
Thank you and welcome back, folks. Mr. Miami, are you hearing us now? Are you hearing
Hello?
us?
Can you hear us? Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear
I'm
us?
hearing you.
Yeah, the network, the connection is very terrible now. But if you're hearing me, and if the question is that I make my parting comments, I will say that it's been a pleasure joining you on the show. Like I said, I hope this will not be my last time here. While it's true, we engage, we speak to issues, we speak on issues and all of that. We are not just, all of the time on the radio. We make appearances when necessary, when we have things to talk about. But the work we do requires us engaging, educating the public, and at every given opportunity, we'll do that. It's been a great time on the show, I believe. Liberians deserve better. Liberia deserves better. We're too rich to be poor. We're rich on paper, but poor in practice. It shouldn't be. The same riches we have on paper should be reflected in the lives of people. The countries we go to, the places we go, the things we see, we should be far ahead of many of these countries. There are some countries that are far better now, and they don't have the amount of natural resources we have. So it's ironical, as we've always said, while we're rich, but then we're poor at the same time. But that paradox can be addressed when we begin to do those things that will align our budget to our priorities. At the moment, the budget is still benefiting those in leadership for the most part. We still see people buying expensive cars, I believe, very strongly, and we believe as an institution that public officials don't need the cars that they buy every now and then. You don't need those kinds of expensive cars. Other places that we go to, people we go to for resources, for support, like Sweden, you go to those places and see the cars that people ride. It's as if we are donating to them. So how come the people you go to for funding every now and then to support your roads and different things are using cars that are less expensive and you are using very expensive cars? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So the way we use our budget, we manage our budget, we have to be careful, we have to be methodical, we have to be judicious in the way we allocate our resources. The allocation part is one thing and the utilization is another part. So if you don't budget properly, the example I was giving the home, you earn 200 USD, you put maybe 50 USD of that money on your balling, or I'm saying it the Liberian way, but it means maybe social entertainment, and you put very little for maybe food. You on a budget for food, which is the most important thing, one of the most important things you need. You on a budget for electricity. By the time the month enters the second week, you practically gone zero in terms of what you have for food. It means that you'll be surviving. It is not as if you didn't get the money that will take you to the next month, but it's because you misprioritized the things that you have spent more on, you spent less on them, and you put more money to drinking, for example. So the one you got for food can take you up to the end of the month. The one you got for children's recess and other basic expenses can take them for the end of the month. The one you have for electricity can take you to the end of the month because you only budgeted for it. So it's one thing for you to lack, to not have it at all. Is another thing for you to have and you miss prioritize or you miss budget. Our case in Liberia is that case whereby we have, but then we are not budgeting properly, and we're not also using what we budget properly. So even as we put little for health, little for education, those resources do not really get down there to the people. We ran some analysis at some point. It's a report that we're coming up with. But previous studies we've done show that in terms of implementation of the national budget, where we have the most gap in terms of people receiving resources are the sectors that really matter to the people. When you analyze the budget, the outturn that looks at how much people actually received, so you have the projection, you have the budget, and then at the end of the day, you have a report that shows how much the spending entities received in reality. When you check on health, education, and other sectors in the counties, some of them received just 60% of what they were supposed to receive. You will get to the third quarter of the budget year, and people are receiving money for the first quarter in some instances. But go and check the lives of the politicians. Some of them can even overspend by sometimes 20%, 10%, 15%. It means they got all their money and even got more than what was budgeted for them. So most times the gap in financing or in accessing the resources can fall on the side of the politicians. They get all their money, but only when it comes to supporting the clinics, the schools, and those things that really matter to the people, that the time money can be there for finance to release money. So when we continue to behave this way, it's not going to help the country. It's not going to help the people. We'll create more beggars. More people will go to politicians to beg. They themselves create that situation. They themselves create a situation. If you're a representative and you're not doing enough to create jobs in your district, what do you expect? You expect people to come to you for help. If you're not creating employment opportunities, if you're not investing, how will the people survive? So, I mean, it's a long conversation that we can have, but this is something that we need to keep talking about. We wouldn't shy away from talking about these things because they are the things that we really need to do to improve Liberia. We want a situation whereby people will be fighting to come to Liberia like they did in the past. The University of Liberia we have here today that is practically lying in ruins. that will open one semester and maybe another 2 semesters they will close because the students are demonstrating, teachers are complaining about not taking pay, instructors and all of that. That university used to be a go-to place for people in the region and even outside of Africa. People used to come from Europe to come and attend the University of Liberia. People used to come from Ghana, Nigeria, all these places to come here. But how many people really want to come here now and go to UL? The standard has dropped. The quality of education is not at the level it used to be. The support. So we need to do a lot more. We need to do a lot more. I said earlier that education is included in the Constitution of Liberia, Article 6. And because of the important role that education plays in all of the different things you do. DK is in the US now and working and doing other stuff because he's working. Of course, other people are there that are not educated, quote unquote, and they're working because of the system generally. But the rule is that with education, you are more likely to experience what the sociologists or the social scientists call vertical upward social mobility. So you climb the ladder to go up. Once you're educated, it's more likely that you will climb the ladder to go up instead of coming down. So they call that vertical upward social mobility. You climb the ladder to go up. So your income is going up, your livelihood is improving. You used to live in Zinran and now you live in one bedroom apartment. You never used to own a house, now you own a house. That is the upward trend. Education helps you to do that, but integrity and all the other things will come along. But good quality education will help to take you to that point. So thank you. It's been a pleasure being here. We look forward to other opportunities to come. I hope to make up some time once we complete our analysis around the budget to come back here to talk to you. But it's important that we live by examples in the things we do, our very selves in our different spheres where we find ourselves. But then also let's continue to engage with government in a safer way, in a constructive way. You can make your point without insulting. You can make your point without being derogatory. You can make your point without, necessarily making enemies. We can differ, we can agree and disagree, but let's do that civilly. And the ultimate objective should be for Liberia to improve and not otherwise. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure being here, and thank you for all the great job.
Thank you,
Thank
Cuz.
you so,
Thank you so
Mr.
much.
Miame. Thank you for being here tonight, Chief.
You're welcome.
And so, folks, that was the voice of Mr. Anderson D. Miame. He's the executive director for the Center for Transparency and Accountability in Liberia, Center for short. And tonight, the discussion was insightful, a very great one. So, as always, we stay here for the post analysis and a parting comment. DK is just coming. DK, let's go over to you for your analysis and your parting comment. Then we go to the CEO. Call it a day for today.
Man, should be the last. Last guy coming last. This should be the last. Get time for the
I know which part of America DK is. His network is even tripping.
I mean, it's gonna corner.
I saw the man posting.
My network tripping?
No, you
My
okay
network
now?
tripping?
No,
You are okay now.
Oh,
And we're posting DA today.
oh yeah.
Again, overall, it has been a great show. Great having my own cousin on our show. I've been knocking at his door for a long time, and finally he was able to come on. And I'm pretty sure he will be one of our regular guests here because there's a lot to learn from him. Our show, as we all know, is not only about politics, but we want to learn, when it comes to the type of work that he does, or his institution does. So it was great learning from him. We look forward to having him. I'm more interested in the budget part of it, what their perspective will be on this. And I'm glad that he said they are reserving their thought for now until they get everything sorted out before they speak. I like the fact that their institution speaks both ways, right? When the government does good, they will praise the government. They will highlight all those good things. And also when they're going wrong, they'll also highlight that. And he said there that this covered government, based on the numbers they have and all the studies, this government has been doing well as compared to to the previous government marginally, and he chose his word very, very carefully. So I learned a lot from him tonight, and I look forward to learning more from him. And we are excited. We'll be back again tomorrow with another guest, and then from there we'll keep going. But thanks to our follower, thanks to our Adamus fellow, we're always following up my own, picking the Nimba intellectual parrot. He's on here. He has been a consistent follower. Thank you so much, for being a great follower and believer in the dream of BKS. But yeah, that's all I have tonight, and I look forward to being here tomorrow.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you ever so much. Again, folks, it's been a wonderful conversation. DK, over to you now, Chief. Let's hear you.
Thank you, Jim. So you were talking about my deer. That deer is right behind the house. I mean, I can feel sorry for those things. And when the cold is hitting the day and they just show up behind the house, it's gonna be like, wow, in the middle of the city. But they're not afraid.
You got a cold coming, I say you want to put in a pot to make it warm, right?
Man, I think they're not even sweet. I think that they don't eat cassava leaves and that. You know, they cassava leaves and they think that I can eat on the restaurant. They can make them sweet, but I don't think they don't have cassava leaves yet. So yes, Anderson is very knowledgeable. People like Anderson are people that we need to talk to or more.
Oh, yeah.
Anderson went to Center when he was like in his prime, very youthful age. And so the late Thomas Donor took him to Center and really helped and develop Anderson. So Center is one of the integrated institutions in Liberia. You know, when you speaking on integrated issue, people don't like you. So organization the Center, the NIMO, the one I said by Eddie Jawolo, and other people who are watchdog the society, people don't like them. Get up from there. People will not like them. So yeah, he's very good. We need people that understand to talk to us more because something other things say that we always I always make reference to here is just for instance, check the budget. The amount that government use on lubricant, buying gas for government officials. That amount will even constitute close to 30 or 40% of the national budget. I mean, build gas station, government can build gas station, the Total gas station. One Arvin is a government worker. Government bought Arvin this car. But only that car Arvin need to come fill all your tank. You want goes ready. You enter Kakata, you want to fill all the tank. Government had those gas stations everywhere across the country. There are police, there are law enforcement. You implore people to man that. But you know what they do is they will give them, take for instance, you are a lawmaker, Arvin is a lawmaker, for example. They gave him government car, he get two plates. Arvin will put one of that plate on some kind of pickup truck that doing cool business. And when they get to checkpoint and they see that HR booyah on it, they allow you pass. So invade tax. Yeah, they do that. HR having booyah, then you invading tax so that you can't pay. But the government can do that. Take for instance, having they pay you. And I'm talking about lubricant, I'm talking about scratch cards. They give those people, minister, they give them scratch card. They give them close to $2,000 or more worth of gas every month. They give you at least $1,000 scratch card. Now, we who elect them, we're not getting $5 scratch card. And you will hear them saying, oh, we are saving. Why you call saving when they paying you all this money? So government just need to review the analysis saying we are not poor. We just misusing and misdirecting our resources. We can save that money, 40% to 50% of that money. We can use it properly. Having you working in government, buy your own scratch card.
It's simple.
Who buy gas for government official in America here? Who buy gas for government? When you get government car, I used to work with a county in Arizona. The car we used to use, there's a specific place you go for gas. It's for the car. You get there, you drive through the place, put in the gate number, you get through there, you fill the thing. When gas finish, you know where to go and get gas. That one government monitor that. A lot need to change in our country, and so the people at Anderson and their institution need to talk about. We that have platform and everything, we need to help them to be talking about whether they let us already. Most people not letting us already. So we need to help to educate our people on so many things. Other than that, we are doing good. And the last thing I wanted to say is when you see people talking about something that is educated, more people don't follow. It sounds boring to them. But let somebody come here with Amanda, I will say everybody will start following. That is our society problem. Bring
Thanks,
somebody here
whatever.
to be talking about early childhood education, talking about how to invest in agriculture. More people will not get time. But bring Koga, bring Koto, bring Naka, bring Town, bring politicians here. You all our people, our father will be glued here. So a lot of things need to change in our country. Other than that, I think there are some you living in there are some places here that lawmakers living until somebody tell you say that lawmakers place here or that government official. You don't even know whether that government official place there because you can be a sweeper, you taking trash on the street. You can own a house that be man own when you were smiling and everything. So a lot of things need to change in our country. And when people speaking like the way Anderson was speaking, they speak with passion, and you see yourself in that situation. It's just frustrating. But again, that's like we need to keep talking so a lot of things can change in our
Thank you.
country. Other than that, we are good.
We'll keep
Thank
bringing
you.
people like that, regardless of people coming or not. We will bring them. We'll bring people like Anderson, other folks who have non-political stance on things to come educate us. People follow, they don't follow, that's still fine. We have to mix it up.
No,
Right?
beyond the follow, that's the time most of our panelists will even show up. Anderson coming here with the knowledge and information Anderson got. Say you bring in Yake Koluba. Our panelists and follower will increase. But
Yeah.
the information, no disrespect to Yeke, but the information Anderson was providing to them, Yeke don't have the information.
Great thing, big,
Yeke don't have
good
the
things you
information.
talk about. I will
Yeah,
plan on replaying everything he talked about. A lot of things that myself I learned from him tonight. Plenty
yeah. And,
insightful
and, and,
stuff.
and and lastly, I think he talked about that one. It really touched me. How our people can exploit us. Say for instance, you have like those who have family in Africa. Your kids, their school fees will be $50, and they will quadruple that money.
Yeah.
And I think this society we're in is better because when somebody tell you no, yet I know. When somebody
Mhm.
says this is the price, they don't do anything. I mean, where yet I we can go for last price. Nobody can tell you give you last price here. When they tell you they think that the price you pay and you pay with
No,
tax.
no live president.
But
No.
you know what? Some of the information they will give all in Labrador about school or this, you say, okay, can we negotiate? Yes. What somebody tell you to negotiate about when before I do something in Africa, I can get 2 to 3 different quotations. When Ivan tell me, I say, okay, I hear you. John will tell me. I will get so many to compare to know that yes, this people. So when society is like that, you don't believe in anything to do. You just
Right.
giving it try and error. So yeah, John, thank you. Yeah, before we take all your time.
Yeah, you see John Fay now. John ready to go now. John ready to go now. It let in one now. So we'll let him go.
No, don't leave me. The politician here, he don't hear question. And this last one
Now,
here,
I had a
between
lot of
follower and
questions to
all.
ask. I had a lot of questions to ask Mr. Miame, but because of the time he had with us, I couldn't go far with him. And I must appreciate him, his organization. Their organization is doing extremely well in Liberia. When I was there in high school, I was one of the beneficiaries from some of their workshop they held with different schools in San Nicolas. And it was always insightful, especially with their media team. All of those people that used to come and talk to us at that time, they were all people of knowledge, and we learned a lot from them. But they have been doing their best as civil society organization. them to be the biggest civil society organization in Liberia. But despite all of the effort they have been putting in so far, and most of the things that they've been advocating for have not been happening, especially during the regime of former President George Manuel Weah. They advocated against corruption, they advocated against money laundering, but it kept happening over and over during the 6 years, and nothing changed. So I think this time around, something is happening. My only
So,
disappointment,
Joe, why was George Weah people resign?
they were voted out, though.
Beyond the voting, they were sanctioned. Most of them were sanctioned. You know, the organization that center major sponsor is the Carter Center. Center report come to the Carter Center. Former President Jimmy Carter Foundation is the one that they are the most major contributor to center. So when organization and center telling you, oh, you need to improve on this, that report is not only staying in Liberia. That report come to the Carter Center. 1 or 2 persons will take it to whatever way it belongs, and the next thing is something like that will follow. So yeah, when people are not listening, even the Blanca government, when people are not listening, those people will be available outside there. And you know what? A leave with Gio. Gio can be one big person and say, you know what? I know this Congress person. At that Christmas meeting, then people used to hear George Weah that lawmaker from Dalaware. Oh, Christmas not going anywhere. When Christmas they were having teleconference about your government, and people were saying, oh, that thing not going anywhere. You know, people can take risks. You know, Washington is the most powerful capital in the world. Somebody come from Washington with your report begin. You didn't have water anyway. Enjoy Kigali.
Yeah, Joe, can we fire you now? Let's call it a day.
Yeah, so it was great being on here. We hope to be here tomorrow. Our guest will be announced in the chat room. And I want to say thank you to all of our followers, those of you who've been following via radio, and those of you too who've been following on Facebook and YouTube. We'd like to say thank you for following. Catch it up tomorrow.